It doesn't even have to be very dramatic to be interesting and exciting. I'm not saying it well, but...
Well, yeah, because it's like, you can...
if you were within a situation where you were about to have a good playoff between something, it'd be dramatic.
Right, right.
Well, hello there.
Is Trek coming back to say hello to you?
You know, I believe that's exactly what transpired.
What?
And she came back to say hello to me. Or you.
Oh, she did. There she is right there.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Trek. How are you doing? Yeah, she likes you. She likes you.
That's good. Because I like her. And I think her head is a very handsome head.
Yeah, she does have a beautiful head. She gets a lot of compliments on it.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, you were going to tell me something, maybe in the Navy, that you might have come in contact with asbestos, but what did you mostly do in the Navy? In the Navy, you mostly went to school, right?
Yes, but see, you remember that when I went in the Navy, I just went in the Navy.
Uh-huh.
And it turned out that I had at the time I went in the Navy, I was commissioned in the Navy from the service. I went from being a bosun mate.
A what?
A bosun mate to being, it's the lowest rank of a Navy, well, it's the bosun rank. The position of a bosun is typically one who knows how to tie various knots. Okay?
You never taught me knots. I had to learn knots myself.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you knew how to tie a bosun knot, don't you?
I did not, and I didn't know a bowline, and I didn't know a fisherman's knot. I had to learn all that. I should have had you teach me.
I'm not sure I did that good of a job on it, but I could have at that time.
Yeah.
I guess this is a bit about background you may or may not have known.
So that means that you knew the anchoring cleat thing that they always do, right?
The what?
When a ship anchors and they tie it to the center, they tie a loop and turn it over and lock it down.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Now see, the tricky one is that when you come ashore and you're going to be tying a knot, you may be tying various types of knots.
Yeah.
And it can be pretty exotic, particularly if anyone's trying to play a game on you.
Like what?
Let me see if I can recall it out a number of years ago. One of the forms is the many of the many of the things you will see are not really that outstanding for things, but you will want to see them, particularly if you have a unique well, some of the things will be, they'll be dark. They won't be recognized.
The knots?
The knots and so on, yes.
Uh-huh.
So, but you primarily will know the knots, and you can, some of the knots, most of the knots you will recognize.
I would recognize? Or Boson's mate would recognize?
Most of the, let me say it this way. If you and I were out walking together,
yeah,
in a shipyard, and I had said, come look at me with some knots, you may not have recognized the knot, what it was, but you would know what was going on.
Right.
Okay. And
so we're walking along, we see a knot, and you pointed out.
And all right, now okay, I'll let you talk. Typically, there may be one of two ways. They can either be crossed or straight. I didn't say that well, but you can kind of get what I'm trying to say to you.
The ropes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you need not have. All right. Suppose we walk up to a point where it's got things tied down to it, like, in which case, you may want to walk up and see if you've got multiple things tied down there.
Yeah.
Depending on whether you do or do not, and whether how many things you need to have tied down or not. But it's quite often to have, particularly where you have piers, multiple things tied down.
Right.
Yeah. So you can just get a number of things tied down, and then you tie them down well. And,
You talking about boats?
huh?
Boats in particular?
You know, whether it's boats or just typoids.
Okay.
It may not be a boat, see? It could be that you needed to tie down 6 ties to tie into a pier that you were going to tie into.
Okay, I think I follow.
Yeah.
Little tie points along the
Yes,
pier?
typoids.
Okay.
Large numbers of typoids is common.
Yeah.
Particularly, and I've got somebody's nose right at me.
No, she's keeping your feet warm.
And they gave me 14 in the beginning, and that sounded about right. And then after 15, we went and checked the camera, and our counter myself was 16, so 16. I wish
Well,
I went back and read again.
surely you've been down on
And that's 4
the piers and so on.
Sure.
When there was a lot of ties.
The only thing I can do is this and
quite often you'll find that there are more tie points there than you really need, but you're glad to have them.
Right, because you don't ever know quite where your
Yeah.
boat's going to wind up.
Yes. It's kind of an interesting world. But
Do you want some more water?
yes, please.
So, so you're saying that sometimes they will try and fool you or something about the knots?
Not so much they will try to fool you. I don't mean it quite that way. Now, see, the most involved knot has something over 118 elements to it.
118?
Yes.
Well, what knot has 118 elements to it?
Well,
Is that a rigging thing?
it is a rigging
Like
thing.
several knots in a row or
Yes,
something?
yes,
Oh, I
that
see.
type of thing.
Uh-huh.
One of the common knots is a knot that is, you know, I shouldn't call it a common knot.
So, tell me more about the knots.
Well,
You're trying to figure out this one particular knot you were talking about.
it's not a particular knot. There's one of the knots that is notorious. It's because it can be tied in different ways.
Yeah?
And it's a
It can be tied in different ways. Sorry, I'm just getting
Yes.
more coffee.
they, well, typically
Here? I don't know. I'm recording this. So,
the
yes. Thank you.
the sheep shank is one of the nuts.
I'm sorry, what kind of
A
knot?
sheep shank.
Sheep shank, yes, yes.
And because you can tie those and just string them from
So you can
spot
string
to-
them together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a sheep shank. Well, did you ever hear of a clove hitch?
Of course, it's the most common climbing knot there is.
Yes, of course. And it's the clove hitch is the most useful and not usually commonly around. It's involved with climbing at all.
Well, what? I was always skeptical of the clove hitch because it's so
Simple.
not as simple. It's very loose. You know, it seems like it would fall out any second, but as soon as you put any tension on, it works.
It doesn't. Yeah, you're right.
But if it's just sitting there, it's just completely loose. It's like, what's the
it's
point?
trivial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when I learned in climbing that we used it all the time, I was like, really?
Yeah.
You're hanging that by a clove hitch, okay?
And quite literally, you're hanging by a clove hitch, and
Partially,
it's a darn
not
strong knife. Not.
It is the
can
strong.
be.
Yes.
It can be, I should say, not always.
But yes, yes. As it, certainly in tandem with other knots like the
Yes.
figure 8 knot and stuff.
The figure eight. Yes. The
Alexander Norris shoots 8 under 64. Weather shortened the first day of play, by the way. Manicero pulls a Schwartzel on his round. 4 straight birdies. We're going to call that a Schwartzel.
So you're telling me that in the Navy you were first a bosun's. What is the bosun's mate?
Well, yeah. Well, see, when you first went in the Navy, you might have been, you might have held no particular, you normally would have held no rank or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And usually what you did,
She's under your feet. She likes it there.
all right, the many of us, when we first went in service, we would strike for being able to tie a particular knot or two.
Uh-huh.
Typically, we would strike for being able to tie 2 or 3 knots. And
Like
if we
a
could
sheep
tie-
shank and a clove hitch. And
Yes, you got it.
Okay.
If you could do that, then you would go on to see where you could go from there.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember what some of the more common ones that we used to tie.
Oh, she's just reheating the coffee again.
So positive right now. I think he can handle it. I mean, he
The
he's got to drive the ball really, really long and also straight. And you look at his golf swing. I mean, the guy's going to hit a bunch of greens. The weak spot might be dealing with the high rough around the greens, but he hits the ball so well, he might not be in that high rough the whole lot. Like kind of nod the ninth to that.
So, okay, you're saying in the Navy they would first learn a few knots.
Yeah, typically, well, what you would do is typically, if you've never been exposed to knots, someone that knew the knots would grab you by the neck and say, come learn some knots.
Okay.
And you, as you would expect, and you would typically learn 6, 8, not a large number of lots. A few people would learn a large number of lots, but most did not.
Uh-huh.
There's some terminology behind some of this that I'm having trouble reconstructing. Remember that a typical typically anyone's going to be working in knots will have known how to tie a wide variety of knots.
Yes.
It happens. And typically there'll be knots for making things secure. Like various types of knots that can be made to be secure for various purposes.
Right.
Sheep shank and so on.
Right.
Yes. You catch what I'm saying.
Right.
And I can't always remember all of those, but
Well, yeah, who can? You know.
well, sure. Yeah. It's,
So you were first this Boson's. When you first joined the Navy, you were this Boson's mate.
no.
Okay.
first started in the Navy, I was a bosun's mate. And as such,
So you're first a bosun's mate, and then?
well,
Then what happened?
well, I learned to tie all different types of knots, not all of them, but it doesn't hurt so well.
Right.
And just went on from there. And the in those days, some of the knot tying were fairly fancy.
Yeah.
The,
She's
you
okay.
almost got your head.
Yeah. She's okay. She's sticking her head through there. You silly dog. You silly, silly dog.
I'm alright here. I'm dead, but I'm not sure about it.
You didn't make any attempt to get away at all.
Oh no. Oh no. You're her security here. She likes being underneath things. So she's very happy being underneath your feet and underneath the walker and stuff. Okay, so you learned about 12 knots and is a bosun's mate.
Well, actually, you learn over 12, it gets up towards 20 something or more.
Yeah.
And I can reconstruct things for you. Yeah.
So there you are, learning your knots.
Yeah.
Then what happened?
Well, actually, I'm not sure how to describe it. Remember, where I learned knots was not in a formalized thing, but I learned to tie knots while tying knots on a shore bank.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And I did tie quite a few knots in those days along the river banks and so on.
Right.
Yeah. Both to get loose and to remind myself how to do them and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And later on, I quit tying very many knots. It just got too boring.
Well, yeah, I mean, how many can you do, you know? It's going to be boring. So you learn your knots, and then what you do?
Actually, almost immediately after I went in the Navy, I immediately was told to learn my knots, and I proceeded to do so. And then, having learned knots, you tied the various knots and it went on and didn't pay much attention to it. Now some of the knots were a little. Do you remember anything called a sheep shank?
Yeah, we just talked about the sheep shank, where
Okay.
we were tying, where you could tie ropes together with a sheep shank. Yes.
Yeah. And
You mentioned the sheep shank and the clove hitch.
The clove hitch was a different one. It allowed you to join ropes together.
Now the sheep shank allows you to join ropes together.
Yes.
Clove hitch is more to attach a rope to a post or an object.
Yes. You're correct.
At least that's what I know. I don't know how it is in Navy land.
Yes. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, honey.
So tell me okay. You learned your knots. What's the stage after you've learned your knots? You know, you're a bosun's mate. What do you do then?
Well, if you're a non-commissioned officer in the Navy on active duty, you are probably going to be a bosun's mate, because that's the lowest rank service of a bosun's mate.
That's the lowest ranked non-commissioned officer?
Non-commissioned. Non-commissioned.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And the remember, the majority of them were non-commissioned officers. They'd be in service. And to see whatever came up for their duty and where they were ordered and so on and so forth.
But they remained as bosun's mates? Sounds like there would be a lot of bosun's mates then.
Like a few million of them.
Really? That many?
Over a span of lifetime.
Okay.
Remember how many bosun's mates there were during World War II, Sarah. Not Sarah, but
My name is
Ellen.
Yes.
So, quite literally, the bosun's mates, well, the things that changed rapidly, and this may help your perspective. When things first began to come out of the new commissions, I'm now talking about when the officers were being commissioned. You had to catch them and get acknowledgement from them. Oh well.
What are you trying to do? Okay, I'll open them up.
What is that?
Oh, it's some lemon cake.
Oh,
Okay, so they've been getting their orders.
when you first come on shipboard,
Yes.
well,
Thank you, David. Back to San Antonio when we come back. Big par 5, Charlie's going to talk about it. Golf Central, brought to you by Golf Fitness Academy, presented by Titleist.
So the orders came in.
well, I'm trying to figure out how to sort this thing out. They were, oh, okay.
Now she's under your feet again.
Yeah.
She's happy there.
Okay.
Work is paid off. And you want to pass along as much as possible to future generations.
No.
At Northern Trust, we know what works and what doesn't. As one of the nation's largest wealth managers, we can help you manage the complexities of transferring wealth, seeking to minimize taxes while helping maximize what's passed along.
No, you're looking down at her. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's lying down now. She's happy.
Yeah. Just let her lie down.
Expertise matters.
Hi there, gal.
I mean, she's not sure about the wheels, but you know,
Yeah.
she's okay.
As long as I leave the wheels alone.
For a company that helps rehabilitate injured
Yeah, she's gonna clean your floor.
Hmm?
She's gonna clean your floor in here.
But who reduced the burden on this
The-
growing company? Their Insperity Business Performance Advisor helped to make their dream a reality. It's what we do. Insperity
So their orders would come in.
Business
Well,
2.0. Faster 2.0. Longer 2.0.
right, how do you want to start it with orders?
2.0.
They-
Lighter 2.0.
If you're
2.0. Pure
a naval unit somewhere
Mm-hmm.
and do not have orders,
burner 2.0.
you're going to get orders.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes. And typically there'll be orders. They're going to read different, quite different ways. Some of them will read, I'm going to try to show you how to say this. I'm trying to think about it. When I was at Rhode Island,
Yes.
which there, that was the first time I got orders, and many of my class did, because we were ordered to report to
at the U.S. Open, and then again at the AT&T, and then the 18th at the U.S. Open. The Bombers love.
we were ordered to report to
The Bombers, they love making attack those par fives. The shorter hitters, they're going to whine about them.
well, let me say it this way. At one point, after it was clear that we were going to be ordered up, mainly my class,
Who has already graduated from Georgia Tech.
didn't matter, but yes, we had,
Okay, yeah.
or we were about to, is what it amounted to.
Yeah.
And then you're given orders, you're told you're going to be ordered out, so it means you're going to catch a ship and land on a ship and
Okay.
wind up there. And that happened. Specifically, it meant that many of us were told that we were going to be catching a ship to sail on to the South Pacific.
Yeah. Oh, joy.
Yes,
Such a peaceful place, the South Pacific.
of course, but at that time, hey, it was not that well known as a peaceful place.
No, I meant, I'm joking. I mean,
Okay,
it was
yes.
a violent place. It was scary, violent.
Well, there were,
The war was still going on, yes?
oh yes,
Yes. Not a very great place to go to.
what, the first and second landing on Saipan, there were a little bit high casualty rates,
Yes.
like very, very high. And
site for the third year in a row. Fresh Express Classic on a nationwide tour kicking off
Hey.
the 22nd season. Golf Channel happy to bring you
I would never.
a massive gorgeous golf course. Built as a link-style course on the side of the mountain. Very challenging to say the least. As we head out to 18, action live right now. Jeffrey Zisk playing good second with Craig Brooks alongside. Back hole location. Different gear all the way back to this hole location.
Where did you first get orders to?
Well, the first orders I ever had was, you have to remember, I was an enlisted, I'm saying it poorly, I was an officer stated to be commissioned.
Yeah.
I was on board the USS Columbia,
Uh-huh.
and from there I got orders to meet a troop ship.
Lucky you.
Well, what would you expect?
Well, yeah, obviously, yes.
This is World War II.
Yeah, I know.
And can you stop and think? World War II, and anyone holding a commission in the Navy is going to see orders like that. Because, good God, how many people do they need?
A lot.
A lot. A lot. Just keep emphasizing a lot, a lot, a lot. Yep. And I saw it all pretty much evolve. I don't know. See, to some degree, once I saw the sailors out of my general area start to get called up, I knew that, hey, I've got to see about this. And so, and there were, oh, I'm not sure I can recount much of this stuff. There were 3 well, one of the first big things I did was join. I got pulled into the Seabees, and the Seabees had the.
What's CVs?
That's a Coast Guard, isn't it?
Well, not necessarily. It means that it is a seagoing unit that is prepared to go into sea from anywhere.
Okay.
And quite literally, some of my group were in the Seabees, and that was really what it amounted to. I didn't say that well.
What you're talking about is a group that's pretty much on call to go wherever they're asked to go?
Actually, as a group, this would have been a group that, yes, it could have been ordered to anywhere, but it would not have been ordered far from shore. In other words, it was not one that was pulled up and transferred thousands of men from one block to another.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Most of the group I joined were, we were not, we haven't made it home in any branches of service, so no big identification.
I'm sorry?
Never mind.
Well, I'm just trying to understand what you're saying.
Yes.
But well, I'm not sure what no big identification meant.
Well, there were no. At that time, I was just sufficiently green
Yes?
that I was not able to identify as having 3 or 5 years of duty with a particular background.
Okay.
So I was green. Green is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so you didn't have an identification. That's what that meant.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I did have some because they ordered us to land on the nets and pick up passes for those of us that were going to be landing in the Atlantic. We landed on the Atlantic. And
Where in the Atlantic?
Huh?
Where in the Atlantic? Or is that a ship?
That was a ship.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait, no. As soon as we had made, remember that our role, we were to be a landing party.
Okay.
We were going to be landing somewhere. We had no idea where or when.
Okay.
And so, in
1945, perhaps?
Yes,
Okay.
we had gotten orders to meet a landing party. So we met there. Our group did. We sailed, and yep.
So you sailed to the Atlantic, but you didn't know where you were going.
Boy, that's normal.
Okay. You don't know where did you end up?
Well, I wound up at Pulaski Bay
Where's that?
in it's there was a all right. I'm not trying to figure out it's
Pulaski Bay? Is
Yes.
that what it is? And it was in the Atlantic?
in the Atlantic, yes.
What country? Do you know?
Oh yes.
What country? Atlantic. It was Canada, or is it further away?
It was Canada.
Like Halifax kind of thing?
Yeah. Actually, the Halifax landing areas were the area where we landed. So, yes,
So Pulaski Bay is in Canada.
yes.
Okay.
And see, we had landed there, and the various ships company had different duties and experiences. So one thing we did was we just landed where the landings would be, where they were going to be, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that some of them were, oh wow. See, some of it, when the ship was meeting things, it's not a matter of that they were going to meet everyone. they're there to meet whatever is required. When the ship sailed from Providence Point,
Not Providence Point. This is Providence Point. But are we talking about like up in New England? That area?
Halifax?
yes.
Are we talking Halifax or are we talking like in the New England area?
Well, we're talking really Halifax.
Okay, so you're not talking about Providence, Rhode Island.
No.
Okay.
See, we were ordered to sail up to attack
To attack the Republic of Canada? What?
oh no.
To meet his girlfriend. He didn't have that time.
So anyways, okay, you were ordered to sail to Halifax to do what?
Well, when I graduated from Georgia Tech,
I'm sorry?
when I graduated from Georgia Tech,
Yes.
I was given orders to sail for Halifax
Okay.
on the USS.
Now earlier you had said Columbia. Is that
Yes,
it?
yes.
Okay. Am I leading you astray or is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
That was the first time I caught a ship at sea.
Okay.
And I just then did what they told me and caught a ship and went to sea. And something that is hard to realize that during, I'm not sure how to say this, but remember that remember how many of the young men caught ships at sea in those days, and these were for real, because you were catching a ship, no idea where it was going.
Yeah.
That wasn't any of your business.
Right.
The ship would be ordered somewhere, and you might or might not stay with it, or so on.
Right.
So then, after a while, there was enough of a crew, command structure got aboard. They took over, and you made one more trip on that ship, and it had, you probably by then had acquired enough points in ships to have sailed into some other things.
Okay, so you were on the Columbia sailing for Canada.
Yes,
And then you wound up in Canada.
I wound up in Canada.
Uh-huh.
Now, it turned out that what they wanted me to do, and they wanted me, it was not just me, but that contingent of young naval officers. We were due to catch ships sailing out of Canada and to be ready, if we need be, to defend North America.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was the gist of it.
Yes.
And so we were detached out of that area, and we didn't wind up having to defend North America, but we were prepared to theoretically.
Okay.
So the there was a naval group of young naval officers. Young, they were green also. Look, anyone was green in those days.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So, and that group of young officers, there were two groups of them. One group was, they were just randomly picked and stuck in the service along with that crew. And they were a part of the, what was to have been the I'm trying to figure out how to say this. See, what happened is they pulled us out of they stuck us into the units.
Mm-hmm.
And
So they took your contingent and stuck you in semi-randomly into the units?
not randomly, because they put a sizable number of they put us in the unit as well.
Okay.
Is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
And it turned out that not too surprising that they needed every man they could get.
Right.
And so, and we were prepared to make our first landings. Hey,
Well, what do you mean by landings? You're not Marines.
doesn't matter.
Really?
Hey, stop and remember, you're at war.
Yeah.
No, anyone is at war. He can be ordered to make landings on any ships at any time.
But you're not infantry.
Doesn't matter.
Huh.
You are sailors.
Yes.
You will pick up the orders and proceed.
But you were expected to make land?
Yes.
Oh dear.
Did they provide you with rifles?
Huh?
Did they supply you with guns? Individual guns?
Well, let me say it this way, sir. The weapons would be furnished. What do you think you were going to need when it was clear that I was going to skip over the question of the landing on the beach? It was obvious that I had better pick up my automatic rifles, and I did, and that's where I was issued automatic rifles.
Far cry from not.
Far cry from it. But they were automatic rifles. Yes. And we were told, go issue, draw draw the uniforms and draw the weapons, and I drew at that point. I drew the, yes, that's what it amounted to.
Well, what did you draw? You said?
Well, I was told that I drew 12 my group were initially grown as we were issued weapons out of Rhode Island. We were initially drawn, issued weapons for well, see, remember that you have now the weapons for firing automatic weapons.
Right, but what were you issued, you said?
I had been issued about 54 rounds of automatic weapons.
54 rounds for...
A 60 caliber machine gun. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. I didn't mean that.
You're not carrying around a machine gun, are you?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
But no, most of the time it was not.
Okay.
But I was basically carrying see, what happened is, in our case, we had some mixture of services, and as such, I wound up just, where is this?
Sorry?
Oh,
It's alright, it's just your road.
yeah. Okay.
You guys had a mixture of services.
Yeah. Actually, at the time I reported into the Navy, there were 1,100 visitors in the
So you guys had, you had just received orders. You had been issued a weapon. You were on the Columbia.
yes. We had been at sea
Yeah.
in training.
Well, you were off defending North America up in Canada, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Then what happened?
Well,
66, currently 26 on the money list, with 3 bogeys included.
the question was, where did they want us?
You have to make all the bogeys out here. You are going to make some mistakes that, of course, makes you do.
Where did they want you?
Of it, but you're the front line, right?
First of all, it went through 2 or 3 different things. They,
I'm going to start practicing on it because I want to get here.
to some degree,
You know, I found out that
to some considerable extent, they had to scratch their heads as to where they wanted us.
Yeah.
See, we're young, very green naval officers,
Yes.
and some of the naval officers were at least as green as I was, and I was very, very green. But actually, out of that group that we met at,
I really think it's difficult hitting a wedge when the second shot out there spits into the wind. You can maybe take an eye on sliding in there a little bit.
sure,
Seems like spin it. Got a little bit of a hump to the right hand side.
yes,
Out of that group that you met out of the shore. Or actually, yeah.
there were half a dozen or a dozen or so of us that were of the group we were to meet.
Okay, so this is you're a bunch of green officers,
Yes,
and you're in this group, and you're about to meet another group. And you're on a boat. You're on a Columbia, right?
you're on the Columbia.
Yes.
Yes,
Awaiting orders.
awaiting orders. And we discovered we had orders for 4 of us to join up with that group.
Which group?
The Columbia. That was not the name of it. USS.
Oh, you weren't on the ship by then.
No,
Okay.
they initially we weren't on the ship, and then we were assigned to the ship,
Yes.
and then in which case then we became part of the same operation.
So you were actually assigned to the ship then. You
Yes.
weren't just being toted around somewhere.
That's right.
Okay.
This was U.S. ship
It was a U.S. ship,
or
yes.
Canadian?
It was a U.S. ship.
Okay.
They
So you were saying that you were on the Columbia,
yes,
and then you had gotten orders, and you to stay in the Columbia. Is that correct?
well,
Number 1, experience counts. The top 5 on the money list collectively
Anything.
have more than 550.
I was one of the ship's crew
Number 5, Darren
that was assigned to the Columbia,
234.
Okay.
Number 2
and
is the smash.
so I just,
72 guys.
since I was ordered there, I was just there.
300
Right.
yards off the tee.
And
FYI, JB Holmes.
I don't know whether I helped confuse you or not.
311 yards.
Yeah.
That would be 24th.
I did.
Third is Bay Area.
The
It's hard
crew that was aboard the Columbia
gorgeous top of the world vistas of the San Francisco.
did wind up staying there, and
I can see AT&T Park from here. What's not okay? 44 players have yet to make a cut this year. And on this tour, where every dollar counts.
So you're on the Columbia.
puts
Yeah.
A lot of pressure on a player
And
to make the necessary money to get
they-
inside the top 25.
the
We're back at 50. We're fully on exit lane.
the Columbia crew, which we were on the Columbia,
Uh huh.
were ordered
Based on the 2 Latin American tournaments, he's really close to making enough money to becoming a member. A lot of players from South America are starting to make a little bit of noise in North America.
we would be ready to
What's too easy here either?
Yeah, this is a very delicate ship here. Good news is that a fairly clean line. This is going to be very quick once it is.
I think you have to land it like he's just trying to avoid those sprinkler hits. I'm not sure if you know this one during the shorter flights, but
typically in those days you didn't.
this is stay there with this golf course. Miss it in the wrong spot and really have a difficult time getting it up and down.
In those days.
You didn't always get a chance to order out,
What does order out mean?
report out. Yeah.
Up to 15 as Russell knocked his third shot. Got it very close to the green in 2.
Specifically,
Very
typically you were getting your crew and your people together
you look for.
to do whatever they were supposed to do.
Going with Fairley here?
And that meant they had to be prepared to man, but not only
Watch that play. It kind of gets the ball up on the grass and gets the ball.
their standard equipment, but anything else that came along.
Okay.
And sometimes that was kind of interesting.
How many layers are you wearing today compared to yesterday?
Yeah, I guess I
The-
kind of told Mike McKenny that I wasn't too worried about where the wall's going to go. I'm just going to stay warm. But today I've just put a shirt and a little white sweater on, so it's definitely.
Remember that in those days,
Still a little chilly and windy, and with the elevation changes out here, what
I
kind
bet
of
it
adjustments are you making with your club
dug
selection in terms of
under a foot
how
here.
much more or less the ball is flying?
that she hadn't moved yet.
Yeah, she's happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You what?
I just played with her ear.
Oh, she likes that.
Just a nut to the left. A little more animated than we're used to seeing on the game. The results, those are pretty familiar. Nick Flanagan makes it look easy at 12.
She's happy down there.
Yeah, bud.
Yeah.
You decide you're gonna stay a while. So, then she'll try to relax and be with you.
You got her chin up on my knee now. Not on the knee, but on the foot.
So I can see that.
At Ally, you'll love our Raise Your Rate scheme that offers
It's
a
like-
one-time rate increase if our current rates go up.
Got
Do you love
it
your bank? 14
on your
I don't
foot.
know where you're working now.
There she is, right there on your feet. That's terribly cute.
doesn't leave room for much else. There's no room left for deadlines or
You're
compromise.
blazing, so
Not a single pocket full of stress in the day.
I guess, yeah.
Whether to do
Ellen, look at the, you,
14
no, too late.
the right one,
I was just calling attention to a tree.
A what?
A tree.
A tree?
Yeah.
Time's on TV.
Okay, well we can take a break here.